Hi guys, long time no see. It's been, honestly, I can check, 2 years since I last did an update with my K1 visa journey. I have been wanting to do this video for a while. I am honestly kind of overwhelmed because I have so much to say about the immigration stuff, all of the K1 visa, and just like transitioning from being on your K1 visa, getting married, and then applying for a green card, all of that stuff. I have so much to say on that. And then I also have so much to say on moving to the States from the UK, all of the differences that I've observed and that I would have loved to have known beforehand, and then also living specifically in Massachusetts, and then also just the stuff that's happened to me, the stuff that I've been through over the last 2 years. I thought it would be fitting to do an update video on my visa related stuff, or my green card related stuff, since that's really my main goal of this channel, was to like document all of that, because I felt like there was a bit of a gap. I mean, I'm not sure how much things have changed in the last 2 years regarding this specific visa, but I'm just going to talk about my experience and all the stuff that I've learned that I would have loved to have known prior to moving. Just stuff that I've picked up along the way that could have really helped me had I known before I moved. I'm going to start off with my current situation. I filed for AOS, adjustment of status, and I got a rejection letter. I think it was something to do with financial documents. I had to provide extra documentation, and I did that. I filed again, and then all of that process kind of went through, and then I didn't really hear anything. This is just how I found my experience with all things USCIS. It takes a long time and there's such a lack of communication. I'm sure things are way better now. This was not too long after COVID. I mean, it was still a couple of years after COVID, but there was such a backlog because of COVID that when I applied, it was very much in the thick of all of that. After I applied for my employment authorization card, I received that like about 4 or 5 months after I applied, maybe even less. It honestly wasn't that long. I would say overall it was probably about 6 months after I'd actually moved that I was able to work, which, don't get me wrong, at the time felt like a really long time, because I feel like I have so much backstory to give. Just a quick brief. My husband also moved out of state, so we both moved, and when I say out of state, I mean on the other side of the country. So we both moved to Massachusetts for the first time, knew no one here, just came with our luggage and some savings, and that was it. So it really felt like, although we had the support from our family and some financial help along the way, it really did feel like we were starting from scratch, knowing no one. That's how it felt. So neither of us had cars, neither of us had a place to live. We also had 2 cats with us, because I was not moving without my babies. So yeah, I could get into all of that stuff, but I feel like that's not really as related to the visa stuff, so I really wanted to focus on that for now. And then I do plan on doing a video on just like moving to the States, moving to Massachusetts from the UK, all the differences. I feel like my husband, because he's not lived here before, every state varies, so they've all got their own rules, so we were both learning at the same time. And he also was moving out of his family home, so he hadn't lived on his own before. So we were just figuring everything out as we were going, day by day. So I applied for my work authorization. and got that, yes, about 6 months after I moved. I literally started working within 2 weeks after I received it because I was so desperate to get out of the house. I didn't have a car. My husband was working. By then we'd got one car, so obviously he was at work, so a lot of the time I was just cooped up in our apartment with my 2 cats and didn't know anyone. I could explore the town we lived in, which I love the town we're in. We're still actually in the same town, but aside from that, I was super lonely. It was really, really difficult for a long time. So as soon as I got my work authorization, I was like, right, I don't care what I'm doing, I just need to work. Fortunately, I was able to find a job in the field of work that I was doing before. However, I just wanted to get out. Like, it didn't matter what I was doing. So yeah, I received that. So that took a huge weight off, not only just mentally, but obviously financially, because we had two incomes rather than just the one. I don't think I heard anything for a while then. I think it was like another 6 months. And then in January of 2025, yeah, so last year, I received a letter in the mail to say that I was going to have to go for an interview for like my green card interview basically. And I was like, oh my god, this is like the interview everyone talks about, you know, where they ask about your relationship, all that stuff. So I got kind of nervous, but I was like, okay, at least the ball's rolling. And then weirdly enough, I received a letter not too long afterwards, it might have been a couple weeks, saying that forget all of that, that was a mistake, your green card has been approved. So obviously that was music to my ears. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't need to do the interview and this process is finally happening. Taken about a year, all in all, like everything took about a year, but it was finally, the ball was finally rolling. So I received my green card, I think it was in January, so it wasn't long after I received that notification. And then a couple months later I went to visit my family. Obviously I was able to leave the country now that I had my green card. And this was around the time with all the immigration issues, so I was kind of nervous about going, but it was absolutely fine. I personally did not have a problem. And yeah, that's kind of the latest. I don't really have any other update for you. My current green card that I'm on, so the one I received in 2025, it expires in 2027, so I'll have to apply for another one. And then I think after 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, I can apply for citizenship. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So I have my green card, I've been to the UK 3 times, so I've not had any issues with the immigration. Obviously they ask you the standard questions at the airport, like where have you been, how long were you travelling for, and ask like your address and stuff once you get in the States. But aside from those basic questions, I really haven't had an issue. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I did write down a couple things. My first thing I would say, now this was a little tricky for me and my experience because obviously we were both moving to a new state. Whilst all the visa stuff was going on, we didn't have a permanent address. And so what happened for a while, we were Airbnb hopping for, I would say, a few weeks, and then we finally rented an Airbnb for about a month. And we used the Airbnb that we were in for a month as our kind of permanent address, and we were able to chat to the people that own the Airbnb and tell them our situation. I'm going to get all this immigration paperwork, can I use your address? And they were perfectly fine with that. Although that wasn't our permanent address, it was kind of semi-permanent because it was for longer, so we used that address when trying to kind of establish ourselves here. So my first thing I would say is get your social security as soon as you possibly can. I can't exactly remember how long it took, but I know that I needed an address, and then I know that I needed my I-94 form. The I-94 form is your official arrival / departure form for when you arrive in the States. The form proves your legal entry, and this is a form that I had to use to get my social security number. Now, I think the social security, the first one I got, oh yeah, so it said not valid for employment. So that's the first one I got. It literally has your social security and it says not valid for employment. So that's what you'll get initially, and then once you're able to work and once you get your green card and all of that stuff, you can get like the one that's just like a regular social security card, and it doesn't say any of that on. Anyway, so get your social security as quick as you possibly can, and then when you have your social security, open up a bank account / credit card. I would say credit card is arguably one of the most important things to do when you get here, because you want to establish your credit as soon as you can. Now, it's so unfortunate that you can't, anything from the UK, all of your credit history, all of that does not translate to here. When I wanted to apply for a loan, for a car, all of that stuff, I couldn't use my credit card because I had no credit history. So apply for a credit card and establish good credit as quick as you possibly can. Now, I got rejected from so many bank accounts. I've had such a hard time finding one, but the one bank that I was able to was Capital One. So I think I started off with a joint account with my husband, and then I was able to open just a regular checking and eventually a credit card. I've obviously only got 2 years good credit, but that is still 2 years good credit, so make sure to do that as soon as you get here. It doesn't sound important, but it really is. I think we got married just over a month after I arrived. So after you get married, send off your documents as soon as you possibly can so that you can work. I think it took a little bit for me to like gather all the documents, and we were living in Airbnb, didn't have a printer, so had to go to Staples. It was just all a bit of a faff, and gathering documents like this is so stressful. I remember just being like exhausted with how many hours I would spend looking at each freaking page of my AOS. But it's so important you get those documents sent off, because then you can start working as soon as that job authorization comes through, employment authorization comes through, and that'll help so much with money, and that'll help so much with your mental health. Because unless you've established a good network of friends here beforehand, which I know a lot of people will have, but for me I didn't. We were coming to a completely different state, so we didn't really know anyone. It was so important for me to get out and start working. And also, you just want the ball rolling anyway, regardless, but my advice is don't wait on that. Send your documents as soon as you possibly can. Obviously, once the paperwork is sent off to them, that's up to them to sort out, but definitely do what you can when it's all in your control. That's definitely one thing I wish I'd done a little bit differently, was stay on top of all of that and do it quicker than I did. But you know, hindsight is a crazy thing, so yeah. I think as far as the green card immigration process goes, that's all I really have right now to report. But I have so much to say regarding moving to the US from the UK, or just moving to the US in general from any other country, because this country is so different from there's just so much to learn. Stuff that I'm still learning, but I feel like I know so much more than I did prior to moving. So I'd love to share anything that I've learned with you guys, because oh my goodness, I can't tell you how much it would have helped me if I'd have had some sort of resource or like someone to talk to about all of this. But yeah, if you do have any questions about even the immigration related stuff, please let me know. I'll do my very best to get back to you guys, because I know how important all of this is. It's such a huge life change, and can be very, very lonely at times. And then if you have any questions just about moving here in general, do let me know. I feel like I could just go on and on and on, but I really don't want to do this for my first sort of video update after 2 years. So yeah, thank you so much for all your lovely comments. It really does mean a lot to me. I occasionally get one even 2 years later from you guys, and it's just, honestly, it makes it all worth it. This process has many highs and many lows, and yeah, it's nice to not feel alone going through all of this. So have a great rest of your day. Good luck for those of you moving, about to move, going through anything immigration related. You got it. If I can do it, you can do it. Yeah, good luck, and I will speak to you guys very soon. Bye.